Strap in, this is probably going to be a long one. Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Hugh McQuaid and today we are talking about AEW Double or Nothing 2023, the big Vegas pay-per-view is finally in our rearview mirror and there's a lot to talk about coming out of this show. But before we dive into that, please hit subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below on Double or Nothing and I'll try and reply to every single one of them. So Double or Nothing had a few key killer matches to talk about. And going into this show, you had the Four Pillars World Championship match. You had Anarchy in the Arena, Elite versus Blackpool Combat Club. You had a ladder match with Christian Cage and Wardlow. You had BLACKJACK Battle Royal, Jeff Jarrett. A lot of stuff going on this show. And did it live up to the hype? Because AEW, quite frankly, have set a very high standard for premium live events / pay-per-views. Revolution, I think, is one of the best shows of the year. Maybe of the past 5 years, the one that's just gone. I think it was an incredible show. So we need to talk about Double or Nothing because, to be honest, brutally honest, Double or Nothing for me, this show I thought was pretty good for the first third, but then got incredible in the last hour and a half. That is what I think of this show in a nutshell. Please don't click away, obviously, stay and watch my thoughts. But yeah, I thought the last two matches were out of this world good. Legitimately match of the year contenders, particularly one of them, which we will get to. And some of the angles were just tremendous. But the first 2/3 of the show, I thought, weren't up to par with what AEW has set, if that makes sense. So shall we just dive straight into them? Here's my run through of the show. So I didn't watch the buy-in. I've seen clips of the buy-in though, and it makes me so sad as a Jeff Hardy fan to see him wrestle. Like, I've seen the Whisper in the Wind spot. That's all I needed to see. It really sucks. Really sucks. That's all I'll say on that. But the first match we got was the Battle Royal, the BLACKJACK Battle Royal for Orange Cassidy's International Championship, which was weird. It was very weird because they rang the bell when maybe half the people were actually in the ring. So they started the match off without all the competitors in the ring to go over the top rope, which I just thought was odd. And they sort of stayed outside brawling. Keith Lee was out there with Dustin Rhodes, and I think some of the maybe were the Guns in it. I can't remember. No, Guns were on the pre-show, I think. They were just brawling outside with people. There was a bit of filler in this match. What I really liked in this one, though, was the stuff between Ricky Starks, Jay White, and Juice Robinson. I thought all that was really good. I liked Swerve and Brian Cage on the outside just watching. But the outside brawling was just a bit weird. And Orange Cassidy only sort of had stuff to do towards the end. He had a bit at the start with Kip Sabian, but then his he didn't get any big eliminations or anything like that stick out in my mind. So he was just sort of being beaten down by Kip Sabian. The main thing for Cassidy in this match was he got saved by Trent, who took a bullet from Big Bill, but he also inadvertently eliminated Chuck Taylor by pulling the ropes down. Whether that's going to lead to some tensions with best friends, I'm not sure. But I'll say the last two, because you had Penta, Big Bill, Orange Cassidy, and Swerve as the last four competitors. Big Bill got eliminated, Penta got eliminated, and then you had the two. That wasn't in the correct order. Penta got eliminated, then Big Bill got eliminated. Then you had Swerve and Cassidy, and my God, the last bit of this match between those two was incredible. Reversal after reversal, counter after counter, big move after big move. It was just phenomenal. It was just so good. They meshed so well together, and the finish came at the end. So it looks like Swerve's going to hit his finish. He's got him locked up on the apron. He's going to hit it on the apron. Cassidy just sort of escapes. Swerve's holding on with one hand to the rope, and Cassidy looks like he's going for the orange punch, and then just, as Orange Cassidy can, lightly kicks the hand of Swerve and knocks him off. It was a huge bait and switch, and I loved it. It was one of my favourite finishes of the night because it just fit Cassidy's character so well. Cassidy is still the international champion, and I'm guessing we're going to have more bangers week to week. I hope we get a Swerve Cassidy feud. I think Swerve might even be the person to take the belt off Cassidy. I think that's the way to go, Swerve versus Cassidy, because those two were just magic together. And overall, it was an okay battle royal with an amazing last 2 minutes. Then we got the opening contest. We had the unsanctioned match between Chris Jericho and Adam Cole. Bebe with Sabu as the guest enforcer. Let's talk about Sabu, because he went through a table. I didn't say dive there because he didn't dive. He fell through a table. I think he put one of I think it might have been Angelo Parker, and just splashed him through a table. But he didn't jump. He just fell. And it was scary yet funny. That was the first thing that came to mind when I saw that. That's funny. But then, oh my God, I hope he's okay. So that eliminated the JAS. Sabu and Roderick Strong sort of chased away the JAS, and you did just get Adam Cole versus Jericho in the ring. And I thought, in terms of unsanctioned matches in AEW, I don't think this was like the best. I think they worked pretty well together. Some stuff didn't work. The lion salt into the super kick, for instance, sticks out in my mind. But you had some really cool spots in there. You had a fire extinguisher and Jericho from the Walls of Jericho. You had a crazy, really cool looking chain around the knee boom to the back of the head of Jericho, which we'll get to when we get to the finish. But you also had the overbooked nonsense as Britt Baker runs down just as Jericho's got a kendo stick, and she lays into Jericho with these kendo stick strikes. Out comes Saraya. Saraya gets chased away by Britt Baker, leaving Adam Cole and Jericho in the ring. And that is where you get the chain. So the chain comes out, both handcuffed together. The infamous chain that kept Adam Cole away from Britt Baker during that segment. And yeah, chain together. He gets it around the knee, hits the boom to the back of the head with the chain around his knee. Doesn't go for the pin. Instead, knocks out Jericho. Repeated punches, sits on top of him, knocks until Aubrey calls a stop to it. And yeah, TKO, finished by TKO in the unsanctioned match. I think it was a good idea as a finish, but it didn't look particularly great. It's not like he was wailing on him with a chair or something like that. It looked, I don't know. I wasn't 100% sold on the finish. I think it was a bit limp. But I see where they were going with it. And I thought it was a good unsanctioned match, a good plunder-filled match. But in terms of plunder matches on the show, this set the bar, and then the bar was raised even more. So looking back in hindsight, it does diminish a little bit. But it was a fun unsanctioned match. Another note I've got to make about the first half of this show is about JR, because my God, man, even though he was on half the show, he is grating to listen to these days. Some of the tangents, some of the comments, I just, no. I like the team of Shivani, Excalibur, and Taz. That is the AEW broadcast team. I get Jim Ross is a legend, but please stop bringing him in for the matches. Please. It's just hard to listen to. Next match we got was for the tag team titles, the AEW tag team titles on the line, as FTR defended the belt against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, with Mark Briscoe as the special guest referee. This match went a lot longer than I thought it would, and yes, the highlight of this match is, of course, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett, who is so good as a heel in these matches. So I think this was a genuinely pretty long match. It felt like it went quite a while, and you had building to the hot tag of Dax. Cash was getting worked over a lot. FTR doing a lot of high spots in this. Dax doing a crossbody. You had Cash doing a suicide dive at the end. No flips, just fists. Gone out the window. But yeah, Jarrett was the MVP of this one. Him playing the heel, the dastardly heel who's just getting caught by Mark Briscoe at every single turn. And that led to the finish, which was just mental. So of course Jarrett's going to cheat. He comes in the ring with a guitar, goes to hit, I believe, Dax. Dax moves out of the way and he clocks Mark Briscoe with the guitar. Okay, one guitar spot. That must be enough. He's out. Aubrey Edwards comes running down just as they've hit a shatter machine on Jeff. I think they've hit the shatter machine on Jeff. So Aubrey's going to come out and count the pin. She's blocked by Sonjay Dutt, who is then sort of bypassed by Karen Jarrett, who clocks Aubrey Edwards with a guitar, to a huge reaction from the crowd. And it's like, oh, okay, shit just got real. And then we get back into the ring. Near fall off the stroke from Jarrett as a 1-2. Very near fall from Mark Briscoe counting. And that's when Jarrett gets in the face of Mark, slapping him about. And then a huge slap from Mark Briscoe into the shatter machine to Jeff Jarrett. 1, 2, 3. FTR retain the AEW Tag Team Championships. I think that's good. As much as I love Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, they're not the ones to take the belts off FTR. I'm very intrigued to see where we go from here, because we did get a backstage segment later with Ricky Starks getting beaten down by Bullet Club Gold, Juice Robinson and Jay White, and FTR come in and make the save for him. So maybe we'll get a tag program with Jay White and Juice Robinson. I think that's quite interesting. I'm excited to see where that goes. This was a fun match, maybe a little bit too long, but it was a really fun, old school, entertaining tag match. Then we got another backstage segment where Jericho is having a meltdown backstage with Saraya after losing to Adam Cole. And it's announced later in the show, and announced sort of here, that they're going to be a mixed tag match. Adam Cole and Britt Baker taking on Saraya and Chris Jericho on Dynamite. That sounds fun. And then we got the ladder match for the AEW TNT Championship. Wardlow taking on Christian Cage. This match I thought was okay. I wasn't too big on the beginning of it. I think it was a little bit too by the numbers. Nothing much happened. You know, you got a nice ladder bridge that looked like they were going to go through, but Christian Cage pulled Wardlow down and he hit his dangly bits. And when Luchasaurus came out, that is when you got the oomph into this match, because Christian Cage, of course, playing the chicken shit heel, he gets a few good strikes in on Wardlow, trying to avoid him and stuff like that. But Luchasaurus comes down, hits a chokeslam on Wardlow, hits another chokeslam on Wardlow, and Arn Anderson gets up on the ring, and Luchasaurus goes to chokeslam Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson bites Luchasaurus' finger, and I think it's his thumb. His thumb is just pissing blood. And you see shots later of Arn Anderson, and you're like, what on earth happened? Did he have a blood capsule? Did he actually just chomp a bit of Luchasaurus' finger off? Like, what has happened? So that was all very bizarre. But then you get a huge swanton bomb from Wardlow to Luchasaurus from the outside through 2 tables, which looked gnarly. It was really high. It was something Darby Allin would be doing. And Wardlow is a big, 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 big man. I think just before that, you had this bit of a botch where Wardlow jumps on a ladder that Christian's climbing. The ladder implodes. Wardlow's trying to set it up, and the ref's sort of like, no, you ain't going to be able to climb this. And Wardlow's like, fuck's sake. And that's when you sort of get the table spot. And it looks like Christian Cage is going to win. Christian Cage crawls in the ring. He's making the climb up the ladder. Wardlow just gets up in time. Arn Anderson pushes the ladder. Christian falls onto Wardlow. Powerbomb. Up goes Wardlow. Wardlow is still TNT champion. I'm a bit upset about the result. I don't really want to see Wardlow continue his TNT title run. I think it's been a bit underwhelming in terms of matches and feuds and character. I don't think he's got a lot of those. So, yeah, I was hoping for Christian to win, but we'll see where this goes. Hopefully Christian can vie for something else, maybe feud with Orange Cassidy, maybe a brief spell with Darby or something like that. We'll see where this goes. Next up, we had Jamie Hayter taking on Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship in what was an angle, more than anything, it was an angle. So Toni Storm made her entrance alone. She's waiting in the ring. Jamie Hayter's music plays. No one comes out. Jamie Hayter's music starts playing again. She is thrown right out of the entranceway by Ruby Soho and Saraya. She's getting beat down on the outside. They put her arm against the steel steps. They start going after the shoulder, going after the arm. Brutal beat down, and then she's thrown into the ring, where Toni Storm takes full advantage. Now, this wasn't a full-on squash. Jamie did hit Haterade. She did hit some strikes, but she didn't get too much offense in. But Britt Baker runs down. She's chased off by Saraya. They brawl to the back. Ruby Soho gets in. She tries to hit, use the belt, use the Women's Championship belt. She sprays Hayter in the eyes with the spray paint. And that eventually just leads to a bit of a weird spot at the end where it looks like Toni was supposed to push Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter just ran towards the turnbuckle, hits the turnbuckle, into the Storm Zero, 1, 2, 3. Toni Storm is the new women's champion. Okay. I get it. Okay, there's been reports of Hayter being injured. You need a new women's champion. And I think Toni Storm's a good candidate. I think it was a little sloppy. A little sloppily executed. I get you probably don't want to do a vacation again after Thunder Rosa vacated the belt. But it could have been executed a little bit better. A little bit better for me. I think I don't know how they could have done it. But yeah, sticky situation and an okay match overall. Okay angle. It was more of an angle than a match, this. So it was an okay angle. Next match we got was the House of Black Open House Rules Challenge thing that they do. And it was answered by the Acclaimed, Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, and Billy Gunn. I nearly said Billy Ass. Billy Gunn. They came out. Max Caster got a rap, a really funny rap. I like how he mentioned Dominic. Everyone's going to talk about how he mentioned Dominic. And this was an okay match. This went longer than I thought it would. I think it's not Lucha Brothers elite levels. It's not even House of Black elite levels. It was an okay trios match that got a lot of time, a lot more time than I thought it would. And the main story of this was working over Anthony Bowens. The House of Black really took advantage of Anthony Bowens, wearing him down the leg. And it was eventually built to a huge, when I say huge hot tag from Billy Gunn. As Billy Gunn ran wild, hit Famouser, hit another Famouser into an eventual, I think he calls it the end. I'll never not call it the Black Mass. So yeah, House of Black pick up the win. I'm very intrigued to see what they do next. I'd like for them to get a really juicy, meaty feud, the House of Black, because I think they are one of the best teams in AEW. So I'd really like to see that, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. It's going to be more sort of open house things, which I'm not entirely here for, but this was fun. It was what it was. I think this is where we need to talk about the crowd, because throughout the show, I didn't think this crowd was particularly hot at all. On the feed, the fight feed. They didn't come across as loud whatsoever, and none more so than in the Taya Valkyrie versus Jade Cargill match for the TBS Championship. They came alive at the end. We'll get to that. But the match itself, you could almost hear a pin drop for some of these exchanges, and it really didn't help this match at all that I wasn't particularly into, because I don't particularly like Jade Cargill's run. It's been average at best, and I have some major issues with what happened at the end. So the finish was Jade Cargill got hit with the Ride of the Valkyries? Is that what it's called? Road to Valhalla. I like Ride to the Valkyries. That would have been a good name. Taya Valkyrie must have a move called Flight of the Valkyries or Ride of the Valkyries. Surely. No, she hits the Road to Valhalla on Jade for a near fall, in which Jade almost immediately reverses that, hits Jaded, 1, 2, 3, wins pretty much clean as a whistle. There's a few bits of interference on the outside from Layla Gray, but nothing too tremendous. And then Jade's in the ring. She's 60-0. Mark Sterling says she'll defend this title any point, any time, whenever. Chris Statlander's music hits. Chris Statlander makes her way to the ring, and they have a match, and Chris Statlander wins. What was the point of this entire run if you are just going to have Jade lose her TBS championship? She's lost her undefeated streak and the championship. And you are just going to book a return, an immediate match where she's already had a match, so she's at a disadvantage, and Statlander's just going to win. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. Why didn't you, if Statlander was cleared, why didn't you just build Statlander and Jade for Double or Nothing? Why have you had this Taya Valkyrie bit in the middle? You could have gone back to that. You could have just built Statlander versus Jade for this show. Why have you've wasted it? You've wasted her run at this point, because what has that achieved? Statlander doesn't look any better because she's beaten Jade when she wasn't at 100%. Jade doesn't look good because she has now lost, and she has now lost her championship. This, to me, achieved nothing at all. And it pissed me off a little bit, because what was the point? What was the point of this? Just build Statlander to Double or Nothing. Just have Statlander versus Jade here. You don't need the Taya Valkyrie bit. It made no sense. It made me angry. This legitimately annoyed me. Legitimately annoyed me. So we'll move on from that. It was dumb. It was really dumb. And I might be in the minority on that. We'll see. But it was dumb. I can tell you what wasn't dumb, though. What wasn't dumb in the slightest. And that is the Pillars 4-way for the AEW World Championship. Jack Perry taking on Darby Allin, taking on Sammy Guevara, taking on MJF in what was my match of the night. My absolute match of the night. And this was match of the night for many reasons. First off, it told a beautiful story. It told a beautiful story within an incredible match, with work rate, with high spots, with absolutely everything. The main through line of this story, I think for me, was Darby and MJF. Darby constantly trying to win with a headlock takeover, and that story can just play out till the end of time, till Darby eventually gets that win with a headlock takeover. I loved absolutely all of that. I loved the Mentor spot. It gave me chills. I'm so excited. Darby hit a Scorpion Death Drop for Sting. Sammy Guevara then hit a Codebreaker on Darby. I think it was Darby hit a Scorpion Death Drop on MJF. Guevara hit a Codebreaker on Darby. Jungle Boy hit a Kill Switch on Sammy, and then MJF hit a Crossroads on Jungle Boy. So good, because the whole thing, they had that promo about the mentors and the father figures and stuff like that. Sting saying, don't mention Cody. Just perfect storytelling. And everything about this match worked for me. The spots were so cool. Spanish Fly to the outside. Darby doing insane dives. Jungle Boy doing insane dives. MJF doing his heel shtick, which just works so well. The spot in the middle when MJF was telling Sammy to lay down for him, and then he just gets rolled up. The insane roll-up sequence at the end where Darby, Sammy, and Jungle Boy were just completely being wrapped up in each other. You couldn't tell where one ended, one began, and they were just covering each other and doing these roll-ups. And the finish was amazing. So Darby pushes Sammy off as Sammy's about to hit a 450 on Jungle Boy. Darby goes up to the top rope. MJF throws the championship belt over Jungle Boy. Darby hits the coffin drop onto the belt. MJF runs in, headlock takeover, 1, 2, 3, pins Darby. Loved it so much. I fucking love this match so much. Easily one of my matches of the year. Fantastic. I didn't even talk about the teasing of a Jungle Boy heel turn, which again I think is coming down the line. I think there's room for a Darby heel turn. I think there's room for a Sammy full-on face turn after he announces that he's going to be having a child with Tay Conti. There's just so much good stuff in this. The entrances, MJF coming down in a throne, the weird-ass Vegas entrance that Darby did. I absolutely loved this match, and you should go out of your way to see this because it is... I haven't done it justice in everything I've just said. I haven't done it justice. This is one you need to go out of your way to see. My favourite match of the night. And finally, we had the main event. A double main event, because everything's doing double main events now, apparently. Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite in Anarchy in the Arena. So, I'm going to start off with a hot take. No, I'm going to start off with... I'll start off with my hot take. My hot take is I'm not much for an Anarchy in the Arena match. I find the music in particular very fucking distracting and just repetitive and a little bit annoying for my probably just weird brain. It's like you're trying to focus on the ring. You can't really get invested. When the Elite were doing the punches, you couldn't really count because the music was still playing. I'm not much for that. What on earth was that singer wearing? Like, why on earth is that a thing? Why did they ever think that was a good idea? What a load of bollocks that was. And when he got super kicked, I was very fucking happy. So I don't particularly like the Anarchy in the Arena match, the first one. I think this is better than that one. I loved everything pretty much after the music stopped, which is the same as last year's. But I think what happened in this match was so much more tastier, so much more fulfilling for me, that I came away really, really liking this match. There is too much stuff to physically run down for this match that happened. Like, I did not take notes on this. I was like, I'm going to soak it all in and enjoy the goodness, because a lot of this, to be honest, was Blackpool Combat Club doing nasty things to the Elite, like throwing Kenny Omega on a chip with barbed wire, like pile driving Matt Jackson in a truck, doing a big swing on Matt Jackson in the foyer. The Claudio Matt Jackson stuff was so fun, seeing them brawl all the way to the outside. Then the Hangman stuff. Hangman, to be honest, was probably the person who got the least amount to shine in this. I think Blackpool Combat Club really came across looking like an intimidating threat to the AEW roster. And it all built to the final climax when everyone's covered in blood. Danielson's covered in Nick Jackson's blood. And Matt Jackson makes his way down to the ring. He super kicks Jon Moxley in the face, he's had Nick Jackson in this hold for ages. Kenny tried to get him off. Hangman tried to get him off, but he would not budge. He's holding on. So Matt Jackson comes into the ring limping, super kicks Moxley in the face, and his shoe explodes. His shoe literally explodes in the face of Jon Moxley, and it was one of the most insane things I've ever seen, because it took everyone by surprise. By God, one of the craziest spots I've ever seen, and I loved it. I just really loved the character stuff in this. I'm totally here for the Hangman Omega story. It's one of my favourite stories in AEW, and when those two locked eyes as they were surrounded by Claudio, Danielson and Moxley, and they were like, we're family, we're going to have to fight through this. And they just fought them off, piece by piece by piece. I loved that so much. I was waiting for them to do the V-Trigger Buckshot combo, but it didn't quite happen. Instead, you got the combos that they used to do as a tag team, like the You Can't Escape, into a huge moonsault from Hangman, and the moonsault from Kenny. You had a Deadeye on, I think it was Wheelie, I think it might have been Danielson actually. I can't remember who it was on because there was so many people just in the ring. Deadeye from Hangman, and he throws him up into a one-winged... Danielson, it was on Danielson. Throws him up into a one-winged angel. Kenny hits the one-winged angel and is saved by Wheeler Yuta, who breaks up the pin, so still no one's kicked out of the one-winged angel. And then Don Callis comes down. Don Callis, as the Elite, it looks like they're about to take full effect here. They're about to be a full cohesive unit. Don Callis makes his way from the commentary desk and he goes to hit Kenny just as Kenny is about to hit the one-winged angel. And Kenny pauses, turns around, looks at Callis. It looks like he's going to... I was hoping he was going to V-trigger the piss out of him. Then a guy in a mask comes down, hits Kenny with a flying knee, reveals himself to be Konosuke Takeshita, who perfectly pulls off the mask, looking dead into the camera, with an insane expression on his face. And screwdriver shot from the Blackpool Combat Club to Kenny. Wheeler Yuta pins Kenny Omega, which I think is another big talking point coming out of this. Wheeler Yuta is the one who got the pin on Kenny Omega, so he gets a really good rub coming off this. But also Takeshita looking like a badass, standing with Don Callis, standing with the Blackpool Combat Club. Who knows who he's aligned to? But it's a great cliffhanger to go off the air as the Blackpool Combat Club celebrate. They choke out Kenny a little bit more, and he looks beautiful. Great way to end the show. Really fun match. Really enjoyed it. And I'm so excited to see where we go from here. We're probably going to get Kota Ibushi. Almost definitely now, I'm sure. Kota Ibushi is probably going to be a part of Blood and Guts. We're probably going to get Omega versus Takeshita, which I cannot wait for. We might even get Ibushi, Konosuke Takeshita. You'll probably get Bucks versus Claudio and Yuta. Maybe Bucks versus Danielson and Moxley. That could be really fun. So there's a lot of avenues you could go with this feud, leading to Blood and Guts, Forbidden Door, all that jazz. Because, of course, Kenny's defending his IWGP US Championship at Forbidden Door. So we'll see where that goes. This is an insane feud. Really fun. And that capped off the show. That ended the show. Overall, I think it ended so strongly that I'm so high on AEW Double or Nothing. I think those last two matches really delivered for me and are two potential match of the year contenders. I think the rest of the show was pretty good. Not great. And the Statlander stuff really bothered me. Really pissed me off. And that was how the show went off the air. Overall, I'd give this show probably about 3.75 out of 5 for this show. I think it was really good. Maybe not the best AEW show I've ever seen, but those last two matches were fan-freaking-tastic. So yeah, that is my review of Double or Nothing. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll try and reply to every single one of you. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.